Okay, guys, we are on day 7, online classes. Online classes are very different from in class ones. Most of all, you never see your professor. I've taken several online classes now, and they've all been different. No two online classes have ever been the same for me. Um, Depending on the subject, it can be really hard. Um, Sorry, putting on peppermint oil try to make me wake up. Online classes are, if you are a good person, like motivating yourself, if you're good at that, then online classes are totally for you. If you're not, I wouldn't suggest them. But being a music major, my schedule does not change. My classes are only offered at one time, and I have to take those at that time. So it's not like I can look at music theory and pick a day and pick a time. It's music theory will be this day, will be this time. You have no choice. You have to take it then. So for me, it's harder to find the time to do my gen eds that will work around that schedule. So that's where online classes come in handy. So what you do with an online class is it'll typically say, when the class starts and when it ends, which is very important to pay attention to because some online classes can be 8 weeks during the semester instead of the full 16. So be careful of that because some people will sign up for a class not realizing it ends halfway through the semester, which means you're going to have a lot more work to do crammed in a smaller amount of time, which makes it harder to balance with everything else. So be aware of the dates. I had one summer class this past summer, and it started off as summer 1. They separate the summer into little 6-week courses. So it started off in summer 1. So it was supposed to end, it was supposed to start like first week of May or third week of May and then end like at the end of June. So, but this class started third week of May and went all the way until July 15th. So it was an 8-week class instead of a 6-week class. So be aware of that. The due dates on everything is important. When the class starts and ends, that's very important. And another thing about online classes, there is not a lot of leniency. So normally if you're in class and you know that everyone is struggling with the same thing in that class, you might go to the professor and ask, hey, could you push that due date back 2 days? And they might listen to you because they know that everyone else in the class is struggling with the same thing. With online classes, you can't do that. When they set a date, the date is set in stone. It won't change unless the teacher just has something major happen and they change it. So with online classes, the due dates are more strict. There's not a lot of leniency. There's not this flexibility with due dates as there can be with in-class things. Another thing is you are required to stay on top of things. You have to pay attention to the due dates very carefully. And I was taking psychology, and what she did was she would put, she'd put unit 1, all this stuff, then quiz. And I was like, okay, finish unit 1, do the quiz, all that good stuff. But what I didn't realize was the due dates on them was not in like a chronological order. It was like units 1 through 4, the due dates are on the same day. And so then the same thing like 5 through 8, all the due dates are on the same thing. So I had about a week and a half to do 4 units because of the due date. So and I missed out on like a discussion board thing because I wasn't paying attention that all 4 units were due at the same time. So, that is something to be very like aware of, is watch the due dates. And a lot of teachers organize things differently. I don't know if your school uses Blackboard. They probably do, they might not, but Blackboard is what we use to keep track of all our online stuff, all our online classes, and our hybrid classes. If we have a hybrid class, we'll do an in-class part, and then the online part will be on Blackboard. So, totally blanked there for a second. Each teacher organizes Blackboard differently. So, like my psychology course, it was in units. Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down the list. So, and then she would put, big chunks with due dates. Well, I had an Intro to World Religions class this last semester that was online, and he organized it in the best way. It said, week 1, here's everything you need to do this week. Discussion board, and watch the YouTube videos, take some notes, and that was everything you had to do week 1. Done. Then week 2, same thing. And it was organized so well. And then when I got to some of these other classes, I was like, I don't like how this is organized, but I can't do anything about it. So be aware that each teacher is going to organize things differently. So you have to find how they're organizing things and figure out how that works for you. And I had to search for some of these classes. It would say, test is due this day, and I would have to go through and find where in the world they put this test. So, and sometimes they'll email you through Blackboard and say, here's your test, here's this. So you might not ever have any direct contact with your teacher. It'll be through emails that might go actually to your email, or it might just go to your school in their program. So be aware of that. I do not suggest taking an online class for the subjects you know you are bad at. I am bad at math and science. Really bad at them. But I didn't have any time to take biology during the semester. So I decided to take biology fully online during the winter break. So I had about 5 weeks of the class. And it had 4 tests, each worth 100 points, and those were the only assignments. So that was it, 400 points. So if I even made an F on one of the tests, I was pretty screwed. So it would be really hard for me to keep it up. And needless to say, I did not do good in that class. Not only was the teacher hard, and it was a lot of content to cover, but it was just not something I should have taken online. It is something I should have stretched out over 16 weeks to make it easier for myself to learn and just do it that way. But I did get it over with. I'm glad for that. It did hurt my GPA a lot because I didn't do well in that class. But then the next semester when I took the lab for it, the lab was so easy. I knew everything they were going to say every week, and I was like, oh, piece of cake. So, don't take your worst subjects online. Take them in person, if at all possible. So, taking online classes is a lot better for people with schedules that are harder to work around, but they do require a level of discipline where you have to make yourself sit down and work on them. Otherwise, you can just keep putting it off, and then your due dates pass, and you're like, oh well. So be aware of due dates, and don't do online classes for your worst subjects. They do have different grading than your normal classes. Most of the time you'll have less points. So my music theory class, we had a lot of little things to do in class. So we had over the semester, maybe like 1,000 points. So total. Whereas biology, I had 400. So, and those were all tests. So it makes a really big difference. The grading scale, stuff like that, how many points you'll get over the semester. I had a sociology class this past summer too, and it was a hybrid class, so I would go to school 2 days a week and then the rest was online. But she did grading by percentage instead of points. So you could go on to Blackboard and see how many points you have, but that's not going to do anything because your assignments, your in-class assignments are 20% of your overall grade, and your tests are 50% of your overall grade. So it was really hard. You couldn't really calculate it unless you're just really good at math. I'm not. But you have to pay attention to those kind of things. Those are things that may seem small, but in the grand scheme of things, they're really important. And like my psychology class, she put in the syllabus how many points were in A, how many were B, C, and so on and so forth. So when I was studying for the final, and I was thinking, okay, I would really like to make a B in this class. That's what I would really love for my final grade to be. And I calculated it, and I knew how much the test would be worth. I knew it'd be close to 100. So I did the math and knew I had to get at least a 65% on the test in order to make a B in that class. I made a 66.8, so it is important, and when it comes down to the finals, you will want to know all that stuff right off the top of your head, or have the syllabus printed out and easily accessible to where you can just go look at it and know exactly how many points you need in order to make a certain grade. So online classes, they are definitely worth looking into. Some of them are super easy, like my Intro to World Religions class was super easy. I loved it. And I also took humanities through the arts online. That was another gen ed I had to get out of the way. And she didn't have any other assignments other than the tests. So we had like a quiz to get ready for the test and then the test. So that was easy because that was flexible. And since it's an online class, most of the time you'll have tests and quizzes online. And then for the final, they'll make you go to the school to take it. So if your school has a testing center, then what you'll more than likely do is take all your tests either online or in there, and then your final will almost always be at the testing center. So I think I had one class where it wasn't. Yeah. So if you have an online class and your test is online and you have your book beside you and 45 other windows opened, just saying, you can do that. Well, I say that, but you shouldn't, but I've done that. So online classes definitely have their advantages and they have their disadvantages. So just be aware of everything that comes with an online class. A lot of times you don't really know what you're getting into until you're in it, but be aware of when the class starts and ends. Be aware of the due dates and that they are very strict. Watch your email. Watch your school account to get any messages from the teacher. Don't take classes that are online for your worst subjects. That's probably not very good. It'll probably be 20 times harder for you. I don't recommend it. And if you have a schedule that's really hard to work around, online classes are for you. But be aware that you have to have the discipline to sit down and actually look at it and discipline yourself to do the homework. So that is today's class, and tomorrow's is relationships with professors. So how to do that professionally and still be personable. So I know they can kind of seem like standoffish and like you can't talk to them because they're all, professional and all that stuff. But we're just going to talk about that, how to deal with professors. So see you back tomorrow for day number 8. Just like 7 more to go. So see you tomorrow.